you're lazy and you haven't seen it and you know it. It's in the Bible. It's God. You try to find it in everything else, and you're not looking in the one place that he wants you to look in. Yeah, I know. 2 years. All right, welcome back to Life in Abundance with the Gentrys. We have a straight heater for you today. Heater one. I don't know what that came from. Heater for you today. It was heated. Yes, it was one of our arguments that I don't know if you ever need a fight or argument, but we needed this one, or I needed it. In the moment, I didn't know where it was going to take me, if it was going to kick me out of the house or bring Bree and I closer. Didn't know, but I got clarity. Even more clarity today, a couple days after it happened. But it started out on Saturday, and Bree was at the salon doing hair most of the day, and I was with the girls, had a good day. It's kind of the first hot day here in town, and so we were in the pool and bought a slip and slide and did all those things, and was with them, and Bree came home about 4-ish, I believe, and went to her sister's for dinner. Kind of tell the story from there.
Yeah, we had a great day. I missed most of the day hanging out with the family, which was hard because this is where I wanted to be, home. And I had to go in for a client that I made the decision it was best to do it that day. And it worked out. But after being gone all day, I could just kind of feel the tension, Mark wanted to go, but really wanted me home. And then once I was home, we were we want to lounge, but we haven't really spent time with my family much. So we said, no, let's go. And the kids really wanted to go too. So we could go over there. And I know it sounds like we didn't want to. We did. It just, being gone all day, you're kind of I just got home and now I got to turn around and go again. But anyways, we're having a great time sitting out by the pool. Everybody's having fun. Selah, my middle daughter, has this thing she does and has since she was little. When she gets scared, she will stop breathing and then immediately passes out. Or if she gets hurt, she will fall or whatever it is. You stand her up, she doesn't breathe, turns purple, and passes out. So I addressed it with the doctor a couple times. She said, oh, that's behavioral. I wouldn't give it any attention. The problem is, most of the time when these incidents happen, we have hardwood floors or tile floors or concrete most of our backyard. And if it's outside and this happens, most of the time she will collapse on the concrete. So I do run to her because I don't want her to hit her head or get a concussion or whatever it might be. So we're at my sister's house, and she has this little yappy dog, and it probably has 5 teeth total, but it's a little chihuahua. It scares her, makes her nervous, Selah, when she's around it. And Selah was running in from outside of the pool, and the dog started barking and scared her. And so Selah ran in, did a big U-turn, and ran back out to me, screamed, and then started to cry. And I'm at the entryway of my sister's back door coming into their house, and I can feel her going down. I think I had my drink and my phone in my hand or something. So
it kind of came out of nowhere because she's been around the dog a bunch of times, and it's
yeah, and she really hasn't done this in over a year.
Yeah, haven't done it, and so it's it was kind of one of those things where it's I didn't even know she really did it.
It just happened so fast. I feel like both of us were caught off guard. And then as I think I was holding my phone and my drink. I just put my drink down on the floor, sparkling water, and my phone, just dropped it with it and grabbed her arm. And as she fell, her arm kind of twisted in my hand. So I was holding her from going down, and my thought was Mark, why aren't you catching her? Because he was standing right next to me. So I'm screaming, Mark, she's going, like I usually do when she faints. And this was, I swear, the longest time she's gone out for. Her body goes completely stiff, like she's having a seizure, and then eyes roll back in her head, and she is out. And I'm blowing on her face. I'm screaming at Mark, but you can't yell and blow at the same time, right? So I'm blowing on her face. I'm like, Mark, help me. My thought is call 911 at this point. She's out longer than she's ever been, which to a mom, 5 seconds of your child not breathing seems like a minute. 30 seconds of them not breathing seems like eternity. And so my brother-in-law, who I say is almost a doctor because he's had every other job but that. I start screaming for him, like, get up, like, help me. Why are you not moving? And in the middle of the doorway, I'm sitting on the floor holding the baby in between my arms. She takes a breath finally. And I just say, Mark, can you help me? And he just, I'm not kidding, like it seemed like a gorilla filled the doorway standing over me and just screamed, I am effing helping. I'm right here. And all the veins popped out of his neck. His face turned so red. And it was terrifying. And at that moment, I was just like, yeah, it's a no for me. That is a big fat no. First of all, you don't talk to your wife like that. And second of all, you do not do that in front of your kids. And my first reaction was like, get away from me because I want to stab you. I chucked my Versace slides at him because that's all I had was my shoe. And I just chucked it at his legs. And he walked outside and threw it back into the room and just went off screaming.
I wanted to throw it 100 miles an hour at her face.
I know.
But I knew that wouldn't be the
wow,
best
what
thing.
Self-control you have. Thank you.
Hey. Example of it.
I know, right? So, yeah, the reality is anger took over. Rage, triggered by fear. And was not healthy or acceptable and was just completely out of control. And so for me, I've experienced this rage in our marriage before, and Mark just getting extremely angry at sometimes not even me, but it's directed at me because I'm his person. And for me, I've never really even heard my dad yell. He's never yelled at me if he has yelled in front of me. Maybe to like a driver or something while we're driving, like get out of the way or whatever. But never, like a man in my life has never screamed like that before at me until it became somewhat acceptable or just a thing in our marriage. It was never acceptable. Mark would get mad. He would yell, whatever it was. And sometimes like halfway out the door, like not in my face like that. And I'm just like, slowly I felt myself becoming somebody I wasn't. I tolerated shit I would have never tolerated. And I came to a realization that I'm doing that for his comfort, not mine. I'm not going to do that. I'm definitely not going to lead my children to think that it's ever okay for a man, for one, to talk to them like that. How can I ever tell my daughter, Matea, who's 10 years old, you can't be in a verbally abusive relationship, yet your dad screams in my face in front of my parents, in front of my children, and acts like it's okay. After the fact, he was very aware that it was not okay. But in the moment, there was zero control there. So then after maybe another hour of hanging out there, I didn't talk to him, obviously. I wanted him dead. And I'm just like, don't even look at me, let alone talk to me. I'm holding Selah the rest of the night. Thank God my mom and sister were helping with the other two kids. And they went out and hung out with Mark for a little bit. But after not talking, we drive home, and we are 3 houses from our house. Mark all of a sudden wants to talk about it while I'm trapped in the car with him. And I just said a few choice words that said, don't you ever, that will never happen again in my lifetime. And if it ever did, don't think that you will ever be here. And we got to the house, and he wanted to talk more about it. And I said, I am not talking to you about it. I clearly made my boundary clear that we are done at this point. It was scaring the kids. He was so out of control, just so furious. I said, that's it. I'm not doing it. So he gets out of the car and slams the car door so hard, I wish it shattered the window. I really, gotta go back to that moment. I wish it did, so he could realize how hard he shook the car. The whole car moved, and the kids start crying. I said, it's okay, girls. Just go inside. Daddy needs a moment. And meanwhile, I've got to get the car seat with the baby in it out. So the 2 girls go inside, and we're just so upset at this point. Mark's walking in the driveway so heated. And I'm trying to now get the baby out. And he comes back over to the car and kind of corners me to talk to me again. And I'm a stonewaller. When you make me mad, I don't want to talk to you. And then I'm going to punish you by not talking to you. And all Mark wants is to suffocate me with words and talk. Would you say that's true?
Mm-hmm.
So as I get the baby out of the car, I start to push her into the house. And I said, I don't really care if you come in the house. Like, I'm done. I'm putting the kids to bed. I'm going to do my mom duties with or without you. And I just said, that will never happen again. Let me be clear. And then we get inside, and Mark's heated, walking around outside.
Hold on. She shut the garage on me, so I was outside with the garage shut.
Well, you screamed at me in the driveway, so I was like, well, you're not coming in here like that, so just let me be clear. So came inside, got the kids situated, who are so upset. Say, listen, Mama, Daddy hit slammed the door so hard, it shook the car like in my dream. And I said, like in your dream? She says, yeah, like in my dream, the car shook so hard. She says, I didn't like that. I said, I know, baby, I didn't like that either. I said, it's okay, Daddy's upset, but it's not at you. And she starts apologizing over and over for fainting. And I said, oh, baby girl, not a single second of this is your fault. And that's where your kids go, right? They see your actions and how you react. And then they think, what did they do to deserve that? What did they do that could have caused that? What could they have done differently so that we wouldn't be in the situation we're in? For me, I had to be very clear to her it was nothing that she did, and see what happens when Selah experiences any sort of trauma from whatever. We've had incidents in the past, though, where she's had to go through something, and it's like she starts stuttering. She starts stuttering like for a couple days solid, and then we work through it, and she's back to good. And that Mark hates because she feels he gets from her. And I think the truth is she just is so smart, and she thinks so fast, and she can't spit her words out fast enough. And she feels like she has to talk so fast because her older sister talks over her. If she doesn't talk fast, she won't get heard. And so that night she just apologized 100 times for what happened. So I'm getting them situated. They're in the other room hanging out in Matea's room, and Mark comes in and wants to talk to me again. And I was over by the coffee pot in our house, which is again in a corner. So he's got me in a corner. And I said, I don't want to talk to you tonight. I don't want to talk to you tomorrow. I don't know that I really want to talk to you ever again. At this point where I'm at, is that will never happen in my lifetime, especially in front of my children. That is a no-go, a not working, not going to happen boundary for me. So what happened next? Mark went to bed. I don't think talked to me the rest of the night, which was fine by me. I put our 2 kids to bed, slept in the other room, and I thought, I don't even know if he's going to be here tomorrow, which was Sunday. A 90-degree day in Fresno. Perfect pool day for our family. And I just thought, well, tomorrow's ruined. Maybe the next day. Maybe the whole week. Maybe my lifetime. I don't know. I just thought to myself, if he can't understand what was wrong with his reaction, I can't continue in this marriage. I'm pretty sure I said that to you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And how'd you respond?
Sunday rolled around, and we're going on like an hour bike ride, so I did that. And then came home, and Bree was already had the girls ready for do a church with my mom, and she had to go into work. And so I had about 3 hours to myself, which was probably the worst thing for me because you just sit there and just think and wonder what you did, wonder why you did it, all these things. And I've been on this path in the last 3 or 4 weeks of experiencing pain in different things, right? If it's going to jiu-jitsu, doing plant medicine, wanting to get tattoos, like just weird things where it's like experience pain, get outside my comfort zone. And so I'm like, well, I've been doing it now for 3 weeks and I really enjoy it. I enjoy my new kind of like routine. And I was like, well, man, is that even working, right? And so I got on a phone call with one of my good buddies, and he just was like, "Hey, man, like I was telling him, like I don't feel like I can, like I don't know if I should even be married, like to Bree. Like I had this text that I was gonna send to Bree, and he's like, well, before you send that, like, why don't you just have a conversation with her? Like, why don't you just talk to her?" And so I was in my office in here, and he ends up having to call me back, and I look up, and Bree's sitting out tanning on her patio. And so I just went over there and talked to her, and she just pretty much summed it up of like everything you're searching for and all of this is right in front of you. And you're lazy and you haven't seen it and you know it. It's in the Bible. It's God. You try to find it in everything else, and you're not looking in the one place that he wants you to look in. And what's funny is our coach, Garrett, when he talked to me about a month ago, he said, you know, you'll have to be you have to be okay going into the dark, going into the rage, but you have to be able to control the rage and live in the middle by choice, not by fear. And I've always lived my life in fear of like fully letting people know what I think, or because I'm not doing it with the right heart. I'm doing it from jealousy and anger. So I've been in this like weird comfort zone where now I'm learning that I'm doing more damage there than good. And my coach said, you're going to have to go to a place of full on rage and being untethered to figure out like what you need to do. And it was crazy that I went to that place on Saturday. I didn't even realize it until today, until a couple days later. But I went to that place, and Bree she threw her
LaCroix can at
him.
at
me.
It was empty. Calm down.
And she said, you need to figure this out. And she said, it's not in anything, it's in the Bible. And I looked at her and I said, and she's like, you want the easy way out? I said, yeah. If you just asked me to leave, which it's totally justified, if you just asked me to leave, it'd be way easier. She goes, yeah, I'm not doing that. Because you've always picked the easy way out. And you'll have to say, if you leave, you'll have to say to everyone that you chose this, you did this. And that's harder. And it's kind of bringing it all back together. I was on a coaching call. So that was Sunday. This is Tuesday. This is today, about a couple hours ago. And our coach, Garrett, opens up the call, and he's talking about how 3 weeks ago he just got into the Bible and how things have fully opened up for him just in 3 weeks with his wife, especially with his wife. And he was trying to go back to like what has changed in the last 3 weeks for his wife to open up so much. And he's like, I'm still like doing the same stuff. The only thing that changed was I read the Bible. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's exactly what Bree told me. And I've been having a hard time hearing God, like meditating, just asking him, you know, I'm going on a bike ride for an hour a day, just no headphones, just like, God, talk to me. And I'm not hearing anything, but I'm hearing these people just there's a handful of people that are just hammering me every time. And so we go into a breakout, which is kind of like small groups, and I got paired with my coach. And then he's like, well, what's going on? And so I told him the story, and I was like, it's pretty wild that I've been raised in church my whole life, and the answer to what I'm looking for is the Bible, the thing that I've always avoided. Like, it's, like I almost don't want to believe it, you know? Like, I've had my sister-in-law and my mother-in-law and my wife tell me that I've been under attack by by demons, and I'm like, that's not really real. Like I'm just an asshole. And I started listening to this book. It's called The Winning Way, I believe it's called. Let me see here. It's called Win Your War. It's by Pastor Mark Driscoll. And he talks about demons, and he talks about the supernatural and how real it is. And it's crazy because before the call today, I'm on my bike ride and I'm just hearing God and hearing a voice. And it's like, I gave you Bree because no other woman would be able to handle you. You would have blown through probably 10 women by now. And I have overlooked the simplest thing, which is just, I've had this Bible probably, I don't even for how long. And so I've cracked it open the last 2 days, and it's kind of crazy to me that, like, because now I'm looking at it and I really don't believe. Like, I know there's God. I feel him moving in me. I feel the Holy Spirit. But to talk about demons and talk about angels and supernatural and talk about like God moving mountains and having you have visions and all this stuff, right? It's just like, to me, it's like kind of like witchcraft, right? I'm like, well, and then I've realized how much I've put God in a box, how much I put myself in a box of what I think I can do and can't do. And it's funny because I have been reading the Bible a little bit more, and like in the book of Genesis and Exodus, and every man, I mean, just in the Bible actually, but in those two books, every man that God has called, they all said, I'm not the guy. It's not me. God's like, no, you're the guy. I'm like, nah, it's not me. And that's how I feel. Like, I'm like, I'm not the guy. And God just keeps hammering me. And he's like, my coach Garrett goes, Mark, it's not a matter of if you'll figure it out, it's just when. How much pain do you want to go through? And I had to go through a very painful thing on Saturday, Sunday. I had to have a hard conversation. I asked my wife to ask me to leave. She wouldn't do it. Like, it's the letting go of just the unknown and just the faith. Like, it's one thing I've realized that I thought I had and I have zero of. Faith in God. Because I was trying to do it all. I was trying to make sure that I didn't have pain, make sure it didn't hurt too bad, make sure that I never stumbled. But in reality, it probably made me stumble and hurt more than I needed to.
And I think that has been one of the hardest things for us is in the last 4 months, I feel like my faith has grown so much because we've made such a huge transition in our life through our businesses and just a lot of big changes for our family and things that I used to control that now I'm surrendering that control. And really, because I wanted to shift power, I really didn't have control to begin with. I'm just fully leaning into the power of God and giving him full control of my life, him full power. Mm-hmm. And that's surrendering that I want it according to my circumstances. And that's hard to do, especially when you are the personality that I am. And so now I'm seeing this greater disconnect between Mark and I as my faith grows. It seems like his is less and less. Yeah. And through the conversation of talking about he wants the easy way out, just for me to ask him to leave, I said, oh no, you don't get that option. That's not an option. I'm not asking you to leave. I'm telling you, you can't be here like this. So if you choose to leave, it's because you don't want to dive in. You don't want to do what's required. You want to be lazy. You want the easy way out. That's why you're going to leave. And you're going to make sure that you tell everybody that when they ask you, oh, so what happened with you and Bree? Oh, I chose to not do what was required. How's that sound? How's that feel? How do you tell your kids that when they're 22 years old and wondering, what the heck, Dad? Because the truth is, faith comes from hearing the Word of God, speaking the Word of God, knowing the Word of God. And when you don't, it is not confusing to me why you your faith is compromised. It is not confusing to me why we have incidents like Saturday or the circumstances in Mark's life being the way that they are. Everything in the formulation, you get the end result that you have. There's nothing out of line there to me. That all makes sense. So I'm like, if you want a different outcome, you got to change the formula. If you're not willing to do that, you have to openly admit that to yourself and your kids and your wife. So it wasn't a matter of can he stay or does he need to leave. It's can you do what's required to stay, or can you say out loud that you're not going to and choose to leave? I never want to be a single mom. I never want to not be married, and I never want to be married to anyone else. I just want my husband to recognize his value and the power God has in his life if he gives him full control. And so what I've had to do is commit to being in prayer for my husband when I don't want to. I did not want to pray for this fool on Saturday night. I was so angry with him in the way that he acted in front of my kids. I was so angry that he showed them that it's okay to talk to a woman like that. I was so angry that he acted like that in front of my parents. And ultimately, at the end of the day, I was so angry that he took a gift that God gave him only, me as his wife, and treated me like that. And there were so many years I cried tears out of pain and hurt, to the point where I had to realize that at some point something changed in me, and I stopped crying out of pain and brokenness. I cried out of anger and frustration. And not just at him, but with myself for still being here. But again, at the end of the day, like Mark said, God didn't choose someone else to be his wife. He chose me, and chose me for a reason. And this is the truth, is I fear God, but I don't fear evil. I stare that in the face and cast it out because I know how to do that. And I have a knowing that God can overpower anything in our life that might be something that is trying to derail just what God's doing in our household. As Mark and I have been working so hard on our relationship and building this connection and just like really setting ourselves up to have God as the foundation. It only works when you both go all in. And when I have spent the last few months feeling like I'm all in and I'm with a partner who wants to say he is, but he's not really, you got to call it like it is. And so in order for us to see that and know that, Saturday had to happen for me to call it like it was so Mark could understand. I couldn't just point it out and there not be a circumstance to reference. That had to happen for us to see the light, if you will. It's weird because Saturday I was going to sleep with the girls, putting them down, and I just had this vision of two black boulders. They were so black, and they were touching side by side, but like kind of like the ripples in my fingers expose a tiniest sliver of light. That's what I could see between the boulders. And God showed me, Mark saw the light today. It was only a sliver. But where something is pitch black and dark, if there is so much as a pinhole of light coming through, that's all your eyes can see. And so that's what he showed me through that black, like, situation that was like just, it seemed so dark at the time. There was a little tiny glimpse of light exposed. And that's exactly what we needed to be able to move forward. So it was a hard day. It was a hard experience. It was something that, unfortunately, my 10-year-old will never forget. Maybe even my 4-year-old. And it breaks my heart to think that that's what they had to go through. But really, I would so much rather that than mommy and daddy be like, peace out. Hey, we're not doing it, girls. Too hard. It'd be so much easier to walk away. But that's not going to be our story. And so I told Mark simply by Sunday, I said, if you are choosing to stay here tonight, it is you making the commitment that you're going to do what's required. And if you choose to leave, you don't even need to tell me. I will just know that you're choosing to not do it. Needless to say, he spent the night, last night, and Sunday night, and he'll be here again tonight and the next night, and we're going to do what's required.
And that's, when I started reading this book, it talked about married couples and when they're both
Aligned?
Yeah. And about how much the devil does not like that and how much more stuff pops up. And because Bree and I, in the last probably 2 or 3 months, it's been challenging with business and certain things, but at the same time, it's been really good. And so to have this collision, it was just like, man, like, am I going to throw this all away? Like, because of my feelings, because of my emotions. And it was like the devil. It was, I heard this thing where instead of bringing heaven down, people bring hell up by the way you talk, by the way you think, by the things you watch, by things that are out of this world. And by me acting like that and thinking that, I was bringing hell up. I was bringing bad things. I was bringing negative thoughts, fear, guilt, shame, anger, all those things. And that's not what God wants, has ever wanted. And just funny that all the answers are in the Bible. Mm-hmm. The answers you're looking for, the answers I'm looking for is in the Bible, and then also taking them and applying them, not just reading them, but applying them. And yeah, man, it was an interesting couple days. It's been an interesting couple of days, and I know it's just going to be even crazier going forward. Staying in this path that we're both in and doing, like Bree's now reading like 5 chapters of the Bible a day. I've been digging into it, and I'm realizing how much I let Instagram and social media affect my thoughts and my habits, and realizing that I need to really be careful of what I'm consuming and what I'm saying, because that plays a big, big part. Like I said, am I bringing heaven down or am I bringing hell up? Mm-hmm. And that's something that I've been really thinking about in the last couple of days.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Big commitments to alter in our life. And I think that's so true. You're so impacted, or there's so much impact from the things that you hear, you don't even realize it, because then you start to speak it. It's like, oh, I've caught myself a couple times saying things that I'm like, do I really want to speak that into existence right now? No, So guard your tongue. And it's funny because that's a prayer I pray over my kids. Guard your eyes, guard your ears, guard your mouth, guard your heart. And I need to pray that over myself and my marriage. So yeah, God's just been showing me some really cool things. And it seems as that happens, it stirs a fire. It creates chaos. But you have to stay grounded and cling to what you know. And Mark and I have to be unified and aligned. And that one thing that can ground us right now more than anything is our faith. And if that's not something Mark's actively working on to expand, it's just like a muscle. It's there, but it's not doing anything for you. But when you go to the gym and you exercise it every day, it expands, it gets bigger, it gets stronger, whatever it is. And that's just how we have to treat our faith right now in our marriage. So, yeah, it was a rough weekend, but there was so much good that came from it and needed to. So, unfortunately, it was a hard situation, but now looking back, I'm so grateful at the same time that we can take it as an opportunity to stay awake, because it's easy to fall asleep. It's easy to disregard things. It's easy to disconnect. And we did it for so long in our marriage, for like 16 years. So we're really making a conscious effort to not ever go back there. So, yeah, it's a wild, wild ride.
Yeah. Well, that was our weekend, so I hope you guys had a good one. But, yeah, so thank you guys for tuning in. Please give us a subscribe. We greatly appreciate it. And thank you for listening. Until next time, God is good.
All the time.
Have a good day.